Good morning, primary class. This is your lesson for Tuesday in our story, Trouble in Jerusalem. Soldiers had carried Paul to keep him from being killed by the wild, angry mob. When the soldiers were about to lead him into their strong building, Paul spoke to the commander. In Acts 21, verse 37, and Paul was to be led into the castle. He said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? The commander had thought that Paul was the Egyptian who had been the leader of a gang of 4,000 murderers. But Paul told the commander who he was, then begged him to let him speak to the angry mob in verse 38 and 39. Art not thou that Egyptian which before these days maddened an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men, and into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. When the crowd quieted down, Paul spoke politely and kindly to them. He wanted everyone to know that he hadn't done anything wrong. But more than that, he wanted them to know why he had become a Christian, and he wanted them to know about Jesus. Acts 22, verse 1 says, Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye my defense, which I make now unto thee. The crowd listened quietly as Paul talked. But when he said that Jesus had told him to teach the Gentiles, what happened? Verse 21 through 23 says, and this is in Acts 22, verse 22 through 23, and they gave him audience unto his word, and then lifted up their voices and said, Away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. And now as they cried out and cast off their clothes and threw dust in the air. So the commander ordered that Paul be taken inside and whipped, so he would be forced to confess what he had done to make the crowd so angry. But before they could whip him, what happened? Verses 24 through 29 tell us about that. The chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle and bade that he should be examined by scourging, and that he might know wherefore they cried so against him. And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? When the centurion heard that, he told the chief captain, saying, Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, Tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, Yes. And the chief captain answered, With a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, But I was born free. Then straightway they departed from him which should have examined him, and the chief captain was also afraid, after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. The next day Paul was taken before the Sanhedrin council. Many years before, he had helped the council decide to stone Stephen, and later he became a member of that council. But now the council wanted to kill him. Now think about this. How do you think Paul felt as he remembered the day when Stephen died? How did the way that Stephen acted that day so long ago help Paul to believe in Jesus?